Hi everyone, this is the day before the spring equinox. It's in the evening and the weather was really nice today. And so I figured that this would be a good day to do the first official garden tour of the year. So it's the end of March. There's still a lot of spring cleanup to do, okay? This is not a neat and tidy, the garden does not look its best right now. You'll see some trash, some empty containers, but I figured let's do the garden tour now just so we can get a little bit of a blank slate. And as it gets warmer, spring is starting, it's really going to start to wake up and then we can really enjoy the changes. Okay, so here we are in the front garden, in the front yard basically. This side of the yard is north facing. So it's the evening time right now, so it's pretty much an all shade, but in the morning, it's kind of a part shade, maybe part sun garden. In the morning, it gets a little bit of sun. In the afternoon, it gets a little bit again as the sun is going down, but mostly this is kind of a shady area. So it's actually been a little bit of a struggle for me. We'll talk through that, but we're gonna be doing different things. And there might be some new beds in this garden this year too, so we'll see. So this is the original bed that my parents put in when they first moved in. This is my mom's Japanese maple. It's basically her favorite tree bush in the entire garden. So this is here. Now, this euonymus that I have kind of lining up as a hedge here actually used to be right under the window. And last year we took that out and put it on the side over there, just a little bit of a hedge between us and the neighbor. So it's a little bit bare back here. And I put in this camellia that I got last year. It's not looking too hot. I don't think it's dead, but it might need some rejuvenation this year. I might have put it in a little bit late. Maybe it's not getting quite as much sun as it needs, but we'll see. Hopefully, the goal is I kind of want this bed to have a little bit more winter interest. So this camellia blooms red flowers, which will start blooming towards the end, kind of late spring. So we'll see if we can revive this guy. It's got a couple of buds, but actually in the back here, there's a few that might bloom. I think she'll make it. Then we also have this winterberry holly, which is also gonna have these like red berries, again for some winter interest. This just got put in last year, so it's not even a year in the ground. I put it in basically in the fall, so this will hopefully bush out. And the camellia is also supposed to actually get pretty wide. I think it got practically 8 by 8. So instead of having the euonymus here, I figured this would take up some more space back here. And I have 2 red twig dogwoods that I put in the back last year, but I think I might move them up front this year to sort of continue the red theme. There's not a lot of red in the garden, but I was thinking the front might be a nice space to have that happen. So we'll see. Then we have these patches of stone crop, one here and one here. And then you can see there's also some daffodils and tulips that are trying to poke their heads up. Like I said, this bed has always been a little bit difficult. I don't know if it's the amount of sun or how the soil's been. I've been trying to amend the soil, but we struggled a little bit here. So gonna keep working on it. Okay, and then to round out this bed, we have these 2 cherry trees that they're actually a little bit later blooming than the other cherry trees that you're used to. I want to say the name is, I'm gonna have to put it on the screen. I think it's Kwanzaa. Pretty sure they start with a K. Can't remember, I can't pronounce them correctly, but they make really nice, pretty blooms, and they've been in the ground. Maybe this is their 3rd year or so. So I think there should be some good blooms this year. So that's kind of this front bed here. Then there's this bed that I kind of put in maybe 2 or 3 years ago as well. So we have this hedge of cypress that I think my mom just got at Costco, or maybe it was one of the local nurseries. They had these and they've grown a lot. Like they've really grown up. Nice little hedge here. Now again, especially this corner right here gets a lot of shade. I can't even get hostas to grow in this spot. I got a couple from my aunt. I planted them here. There's also some in that garden bed as well. Those actually did okay. They didn't catch as well as in another area of the garden that I'll show you guys, but here they just suffer. Again, not even 100% sure why. But the cypress do really well. And then we have 4 of these pink butterfly bush. This guy has actually caught up pretty well. Again, the deeper shade line basically hits right here. So these first 3 were a lot taller than this guy, but he caught up. I think it looks pretty good. I still have to come in this year and trim them back a little bit so they don't get to be those like second story plants where there's only blooms at the top, but we'll do that probably another week or 2. Then mostly in this bed, there's a lot of, I think just tulips is what I put in this bed. I don't think I really put daffodils in this bed, but a lot of tulips. And I did start to try and put some more shade-loving plants in, like there's some Jacob's Ladder and a couple of other smaller kind of ground cover plants that they're just starting to wake up because they're perennial. So as the season goes on, we'll see more of those. The last part of this front lawn is this tree that honestly, I think I've already said before, I'm not up on my tree identification, so I can't tell you what kind of tree it is. But this is where I think I'm going to place a new garden bed, kind of in this area here. Because as I've been doing my research on native planting and more planting that's good for wildlife, there's this idea of a soft landing that under these trees, if we didn't exist and we didn't rake up the leaves and do all of that stuff, under the trees, branches and leaves fall. And that's an area where bugs can gather, they lay their eggs, they winter over, birds can get supplies for their nest, etc. And so that really helps wildlife. So I think my goal is right in front of this big tree that we have here in the front, I'm going to wrap around it, do a soft landing, and I ordered a lot of native plants because those should be the best for our native wildlife. I ordered a bunch of native plants that will do well in a partial sun, partial shade, kind of more woodland plants that are going to go right here. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the front lawn. This is kind of the left side. This was all grass. And we just started in the last, again, all of this has kind of changed maybe the last 2, maybe 3 years. I put in this this front garden bed, which I've really liked and has been kind of really exciting and, lots of get to play a little bit. So just this year, I put in this row of heath that's lining the front of the border. I love this pink purple color. This is the second time I'm trying this, so hopefully they take. Last year, I left these in their containers way too long. They dried out and everybody died. It was 110% my fault. Okay, so in this bed, I also have some white and purple hellebores. The purple hellebores I just put in this year, which is why they're so significantly taller than the white hellebores. But I had the white hellebores last year and I do really like them, but I realized I wanted a little bit more color over here, especially again, things are just starting to wake up and the white, while really pretty, it just wasn't quite bright enough to me. So put in these purple hellebores and I like the addition a lot better and it'll match well with the white hellebores, obviously. So then we have a Princess Anne rose. It's a David Austin rose. I put this in, again, just last year. Or really, I say just last year. I put this in just this past fall. So this is its first year in the ground. I already trimmed it up for the season, and it's looking great so far. I have a couple of other perennials in this bed. There's this creeping thyme. It's kind of like silver, and it makes these, it's green and silver, and it makes really pretty purple flowers. There's some on the other side of the swoop that actually, I realized accidentally, we must have picked up some that make white flowers instead of pink flowers, but it still looks really good. And I love this thing. They like really take over. It's a really nice ground cover. I really like it. Then there's these little guys here that are dotted around. I believe they're called cowslips. I just picked those up randomly from Home Depot. I think, again, about 3 years ago. So they're kind of dotted around randomly. I think I just have 3 of them, and they make kind of a yellow flower early in the spring. Okay, so this bed also has a lot of tulips and daffodils that are coming up, as you can see. Very excited. Should have a good showing of those. I have another stone crop back here that I'm pretty sure I moved over from the front bed just as to divide it up a little bit. And then I have 2 heuchera, purple heuchera here and here that I also had. I think one of them was in, I think they both might have been in the back garden bed, and they were getting a little bit too much sun there. I moved them over here and they are much happier. So those do really well here. And then this guy here is, I believe it's a Queen Elizabeth. I think it's a Queen Elizabeth rose. Got this. This is one of the first things we put in the ground when we kind of started getting into gardening. And again, just got this at Home Depot. Makes really nice pink, pretty flowers. So that's it for the front yard. Now we're going to transition and follow the path that we put in to the backyard. So the first thing you see when you enter the backyard is this crepe myrtle. It makes, again, kind of a, I think this one makes a slightly deeper pinkish purple flower. This guy I've brought back from the dead. I had her in the front bed initially. Definitely was not getting enough sun there. Almost died. I put him over here, and I think, again, this is, I think, a study in microclimates. This isn't full sun, but it gets enough sun. Maybe it gets close to 6 hours. And I think the heat of the fence keeps it nice and warm. And she has thrived since I planted her here, to the point where I'm gonna have to cut back some of these branches some more. They actually extended even more at the end of the summer out into the opening of the gate. So you were forever hitting these branches as you walked in. So I'm gonna have to limit up a little bit this year, but thriving. Super happy that I brought this guy back from the So as you come into the backyard, this whole stone path that we put in is just about 2 years old. Over here, we have some more roses. This one, let's see if we have this one's name. Perfume Factory. These, let me see, I think there's 3 roses along this back edge. All of them make kind of pink flowers, and they all smell really, really nice. We have these 3 pots back here that have these, I think they're probably just another version of cypress, these cypress balls that we've put in the back here in these pots. And the pots we end up filling up with annuals every year. So these end up looking really nice. But you can see this whole area here is full of perennials. So there is just not a lot going on back here at the moment. Trying to see what's alive back here. Okay, so we have a purple iris. It's a bearded iris. That's coming up. And another one over here. This is, I think, some kind of Japanese grass that I picked up, again, from Home Depot at some point as just a ground cover. It's there. It's fine. This is another nice smelling rose. This one's called Memorial Day. As we come on this side, there's a yellow daylily that comes up here. And these 2 kind of random humps here are actually alliums. They're a little bit of a more late blooming allium. And the reason why they're planted so high is when I initially started planting up this area, it was more, I had put some raised beds in. So initially these were in raised beds. I ended up taking out the raised beds. I thought it would look nicer with the paths to have it a little bit more open. But the alliums were a little bit more raised up, and I just left them. Looks a little bit funny, but they do okay. Then the last rose we have on this side, this one's another Perfume Factory. So the first one and the first one and this last one are the same. So now on this side's messy, guys, but everybody has that corner in their garden. Over here though, I have a peony that looks really nice, and there's some hyacinths that are coming up, as well as some crocus that I planted. These are coming up a little bit later than the ones on the other side, but they come up and they'll look really nice as well. You can start to see I have a lot of catmint on this side. You can see over here, they're starting to come up. I cut them back about a week or so ago because as part of just the spring cleanup. And I love the catmint. Beautiful purple flowers. They get nice and big and they spread out. Love it. This is a crabapple that I picked up from Lowe's. I love this thing. I don't think it had a variety name, but it was just beautiful. Had these white, almost pinkish flowers on them. Put it right here. I love the shape. It's kind of twisty, turny, and I love it. Some crocus. I need more of these. As a matter of fact, I have more of these inside. I ordered a whole bunch of crocus last year because I love these things. Purple's my favorite color, so they come up early spring. They look really nice. I ordered a bunch of bulbs, and guys, I didn't plant them. But I'm going to this year because when I finally pulled them out of their packaging, they still seem alive, struggling, but alive. So I'm going to plant them and see what happens. And you can see here, more catmint. There's some more iris on this side, some more hyacinth. There's more tulips that come up. These guys are these sort of overgrown grasses. I think I need to cut them back. I have this one is yellow. This one I'm pretty sure is dead. And that one's pink. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with those eventually. This is a persimmon tree that I need to straighten up. I think over the winter sort of got bent over by the wind. This is a persimmon tree. It's one of a couple of fruit trees that we have here on the property. I don't really like persimmons, but my mom likes persimmons, so I figured I'd plant some for her. This is a rhododendron that, again, I was going to take this plant to Brooklyn, so it was in a pot for 2 years, and I finally decided I might as well put it in the ground. So it's only been in the ground for 1 full year right now. And I think we might finally get some blooms now that I actually have it in the ground. Then I have 2 red twig dogwoods back here. I had 3 of them. Again, this was another plant that I was going to take to Brooklyn with me. The third one didn't make it, so I planted these 2. They look good. I think I might move them to the front though. We'll see. So now, when you're coming through this arch, we have 2 kinds of climbing roses. I have my Eden Climber and my Colette. Both make really pretty pink flowers. The Colette rose was behind, it was a little smaller when I got it, the Eden climbing rose. So Eden's gone a little bit further, but Colette is definitely catching up. Looks really good. When this is in bloom, you guys will see. Looks amazing. So now, if you come along this way, there's kind of what I guess I'm going to call the orchard row. So this is the first fruiting tree. It's a plum tree. Lots of blooms on it now. Guys, early in spring, things change quickly. So we have a plum. This is only its first full year in the ground. I need to trim it up for size this year. I don't think I trimmed any of these trees except the 2 apple trees at the end, but this is looking really good. Probably won't fruit this year, but we'll see. So plum tree. You can see in the back we have a row of arborvitaes as well. Initially, we didn't have this fence running all the way along the back. There was just a chain link fence there. We put up the arborvitaes, then we put up the fence. We also struggled with arborvitaes like a lot of people have done. Don't realize how much water arborvitaes really need to thrive. But a year or 2 ago, we put in a drip system and that really helped. So we have the plum tree. That's the first in the orchard. We have this It's a flowering apricot, so we're not getting any fruit from this guy. I hesitated putting it here. I put it in because for doing exactly what I wanted it to do. It's right here in the middle. You can see it from inside. Nice, beautiful, early pink blooms. But at first I wanted to take it out because I was like, well, this is the orchard row. I should have only fruiting trees back here. But this is such a vigorous grower, I just couldn't. And this year, I mean, look at all these pink blooms. I mean, these guys are just starting to open up in the last day or two. So I'm gonna leave her here. Love it. More roses. Peach tree got put in same time as the plum, so just another, this is just its first full year. So we'll see with this peach tree. Another rose here. And then we have the 2 apple trees. This is a Fuji apple, so this was in longer. The 2 apple trees were the first fruit trees that we put in. So another rose over here. And then a pink lady apple. So we've only gotten apples off of these 2 trees one time. They were tiny, tiny, tiny. Not exactly sweet, but you know, they've been in the ground 2, maybe this is their 3rd year. We'll see. But cross your fingers that this year we might get some apples. Now, this is the back garden. And this is gonna get a big transformation this year, but we'll talk about that in another video. This is the garden that sort of started it all. This is more of a summer blooming garden, and part of the reason for that is we made the same mistake that a lot of people do. When we started gardening, it was sort of in the height of summer, and we just went to the garden center and just got what looked nice and we put it in, and then eventually started learning more about seasonality and planting for all seasons. So I still need to work on incorporating planting for all seasons, because what I've noticed is as you come along the front and the pathway, there's a lot of beautiful spring stuff. In the back path there's some late like summer perennials as well, but it gets really showy in spring. Here, there's not a lot going on until the summer. You can see we have a lot of, again, tulips and daffodils that I have lining the edge. I have another 2 of the mop head cypress. I think along with the 3rd one in the front, I'm probably gonna pull these 2 out. This one doesn't look too bad. This one struggles a lot though, because in the height of summer, when everything grows in, it gets overshadowed and always struggles. So I think I'm gonna pull all 3 out, because they were all 3 back here at one point. And I think I'm gonna pop all 3 into the front. This guy, I can't remember the name of this guy, but it's another evergreen. I really like it, but you can see how it got brown back here. It's another one that things sort of flopped on top of it in the summer. And so that's why we have these brown areas. So this is the one that I think I'm gonna move to the front yard and take out that 3rd fall cypress and put them all together. We have a Golden Celebration David Austin rose. Again, I just put this in this year in this spot. I have another peony here. Still have to come and do some pruning. Peony over here. Rose. Rose. I actually have a little cherry tree back here that I might move around a little bit. And then I have my 3 hydrangeas. These are some of the original plants, one of the first plants that we have. They get that nice bluish purple color, which I love, but I'm probably gonna take them up, I think, and put them on the side there, kind of by the shed. As I rework this back area, I have always felt, although they've done okay, I think they'll do, it gets really hot back here, I think they'll do a little bit better in some more shade. So these are probably getting moved pretty soon. This is another crepe myrtle. Nice, beautiful pink buds. I swear this crepe myrtle blooms later than any other crepe myrtle in the neighborhood. There's other crepe myrtles in the neighborhood, and I feel like every year we get really worried about it because she's the last one to go, but she goes. So love this guy. And then another Japanese maple that me and my brother got for my mom. I think it was for a Mother's Day present because she loves this, so put it in the back. And this is another this is another crepe myrtle, but it's more of a shrub form. And this gets purple flowers. So this one looks really nice as well. Blooms earlier than that one does. Then as we make our way back here, this is another peony that'll be coming up. This guy and this guy are supposed to be encasing and containing the hibiscus. These guys get these huge, I mean, the size of the palm of my hand, these huge, dark pink, almost purple flowers. This one used to be a little bit more up front, hence why this guy was always getting smothered. Again, learning more about garden design, I realized at some point, which is why I moved it, this would do better in the back because they get so big, but I had them right in front. Loved it, probably wasn't the best spot for it. This guy is okay kind of back here where it is. Might have to move this peony though, because these guys really do get really big. And you'll see, there's nothing going on here. This is one of those plants that will also scare people and make them think it's dead, nothing's coming back up. They're a late summer bloomer and they come up from the roots again. I'll probably come back and cut these stalks out again later on in another few weeks. And you'll see by the end of summer, these guys will come up. And there's more perennials in here that again, you just can't see yet because it's too early. Okay. Now the last part of the garden is actually the earlier part of the garden is the veggie patch. So I have this arch here that I have some grapes that I'm sort of trying to grow over. We'll see how this ends up working out. I am probably going to move this. Again, this will be in a later video because I think I'm going to turn the entrance to the veggie part of the garden, the produce part over here, but that's a whole other story. Right now, we have these grapes that I thought I killed, but you know what? They've come back, so they look good. All right, so I have these raised garden beds that I built once again I started trying to get serious about gardening. And right now what you can see growing up in them is garlic. We use a lot of garlic in our cooking. The first year that we did garlic, I had them in this bed. Came out, everybody loved it. It was great. But the thing that I didn't like, that I didn't fully comprehend, is that dedicating this whole bed to garlic, this bed was done for pretty much the entire summer because you don't end up harvesting the garlic until sometime in July. So it was a little bit of a struggle because we have a decent amount of space, but not so much space that I could just kind of forego this whole bed, or I didn't really love it. Then last year we tried growing garlic in these grow bags, which you should be able to do. I just wasn't able to do. The garlic, they grew, but they were tiny, tiny, tiny. I mean, they really didn't make any bulbs at all. It was a huge disappointment, especially because with garlic, you plant them in the fall, you wait till midsummer, end of summer to harvest them. That's 8-9 months just down the drain. So that was a bit of a bummer. So I said, okay, this year we're going back into the raised beds, but we use a lot of garlic. Everybody loved the garlic. So I decided to spread it out kind of along the edges of the beds instead of taking away one whole bed. So I'm able to get more garlic, but hopefully I should still be able to utilize the beds a little bit more. Now here I have a cherry tree. And I know now, I love this tree. This might be one of my favorite fruit trees that we have on the property. But again, I didn't understand enough about garden design and garden planting. I should not have put this tree here because now I understand that fruit and vegetables need as much sun as possible, which we get here. This is the southwest part of the garden. But the cherry tree starts to put shadow over everything, particularly this bed, which we tend to grow a lot of tomatoes in. So not the best placement of this tree, but it's such a vigorous grower, I just can't take it out. So she's gonna stay there. Because of that, I think I'm gonna rework things a little bit. So this bed over here was my strawberry bed because strawberries are one of my favorite fruits. The soil level has gotten really low. I need to put it back up, but I think what I'm gonna do this year is I think I'm going to take out the strawberries from this bed. I think I'm going to raise the strawberries, grow the strawberries in containers, and I'm gonna give this bed back to either tomatoes or cucumbers, just one of the later summer vegetables. So to give myself some more room and more sun, basically. Okay, so what I'm stepping over here is containers that I'm experimenting with winter sowing. This is the first year that I'm doing that, so we'll see how these turn out. The last bed that I have over here holds a bunch of blueberries. Different blueberries, Jersey blueberry, Liberty blueberry, there's a bunch. There were tags. I don't have the tags anymore. This has been semi-successful because, again, I'm still learning, guys. It's been semi-successful. There's been a couple of blueberries, but I've added more blueberry plants, so they're not all the same age. And then I think this year I need to get better about trying to protect the blueberries that I do get, because I think the birds and who knows, even the squirrels probably are eating the blueberries. So this year they look pretty good. So I'm going to try and protect them this year. So hopefully we get to enjoy more than a small handful of fruit. So that's it for the first garden tour of the year, guys. Like I said, things are still a little messy. Things are still looking bare. We're still waiting for things to grow in. This is a good just starting point. It's good to document your garden throughout the year. So this is where we're at now. Still have a lot of spring cleaning, still have a lot of plants that need to come up, still have a lot of planting to do, but this is gonna be our starting ground for the beginning of spring. The season is finally starting. So I hope wherever you are, the weather, some of you are in great weather, but I hope wherever you are, the weather's also getting better, and I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy your garden. Till next time, bye.